What's up, everybody? Jody here with the Bass Nerds. Just want to do a quick introduction before we jump into this podcast. Mark and I were lucky enough to go to the Namm show this past year, 2020, and while we were there, we ran into Jon D'Auria, who is the editor-in-chief at Bass Magazine. We ran into him at the Bass Bash, and one thing led to another, and we decided to record a podcast at the Bass Bash. We weren't really planning on doing that, but we hustled some things together, and were able to sit down with him for a little while and chat about Bass Magazine and kind of all things bass, the Bass Bash. Quick heads up. We did record this at the Bass Bash, so it's not an ideal situation to record a podcast by any means. So there's background noise and it's dark, but I cleaned up the audio a little bit, and I think it's definitely worth listening to if you've got it's a short podcast, about a half hour, 45 minutes, that we sat down with John. So just wanted to give you that quick heads up that, like, not an ideal situation to record the podcast in, but I think still worth the listen. So be sure to subscribe, check out bassmagazine.com. They're an online-only magazine, and then they're very heavy on Instagram. IG handle is Bass Magazine Online. So hope you like the podcast. Subscribe. We got a lot more stuff coming for you guys. We've got a new studio that we're recording out of, so things are getting a step up here, and we're really excited to share that with everybody. So thanks so much. Hope you like what you hear. Peace.
What's going on, everybody? We are at Namm 2020. I am Mark. This is
Jody.
And we are the Bass Nerds.
Wow.
I fucking forgot that air horn.
You're going to need the air horn.
It's
Yeah,
at my
yeah,
house.
And today we've got the beautiful Jon D'Auria from Bass Magazine.
You made me
He's
feel
got
so
a
good.
very rich history with journalism and bass playing and all things.
Thank
bass.
you.
Thank you for joining us.
Of course, I'm thrilled to be. I'm a big fan, man. I've seen everything you guys have done so far.
Got a vast catalog out there.
Thrilled to be sitting here.
Two episodes aired.
That's right.
Dude, well, this is Jody's first Namm.
Oh, boy.
Yes,
How are you holding up?
Whoa. Overwhelming, but good. It's just so, I didn't realize how massive it truly is.
It's aesthetic overload. When you first walk in those doors and there's 150,000 people in a convention hall,
Yeah.
I don't care how many I've been 10 years. Every time it's like a panic attack for a moment.
Dude.
And you have to talk with 1,000 people. I get to wander so I can go hide for a minute or.
Yeah, I mean, well, so,
You're receiving people,
So this is my first year on the exhibitor side,
Right.
And so,
Usually
but
you're
it was,
on the other,
like you
you're
said,
on the other spectrum.
the past 6 years or whatever, I've
Yeah.
been doing these on the buyer side, walking everywhere. This is the first year where I'm standing in one spot. I'm like, oh, cool, I could stand in one spot. I don't have to worry about it. No, it still sucks, man.
I was gonna say, what's more intense then? Is it more intense wandering or being
Oh.
planted?
I think wandering is less intense because you get the opportunity to go outside, take a breather. You could say, I'm gonna take this hour block and not talk to anybody.
Right.
On the exhibitor side, you
Gotta
are
go when
you're
someone's
in.
there.
But it's great though because you get so many people who are genuinely excited about what you're doing.
Right.
There's also people who are just there sniffing around for
Of course.
endorsements.
And they're
But,
like, can I
yeah.
get a free base?
Can I get a free
What's in
base?
this for me right
yeah.
now? Yeah.
If you've got to ask, then probably not.
No. Yeah. If you're coming to you asking for something, you're not
Yeah.
going to get it most
It
likely.
works the other way. I'm
Exactly.
supposed to ask you.
We chase you because you're known and all that
But-
stuff, but yeah.
I respect the hustle though. You probably
hustle.
get that sort of thing.
Dude,
all
I have
the
to go to
time,
every
too.
bass booth and I have the longest list and shake every hand. But it's it's beautiful because this is the one time a year you see everyone.
Yeah.
I get to see you.
Right.
Met
Dude,
you.
I'm working at Bass Club for so many years. I've corresponded with, Michael Tobias, with
Everyone.
absolutely everyone, Aguilar, you name it.
Yep.
And then now I'm like, hey, nice to meet you.
Exactly.
I've been.
I get to see the
meeting
face.
you-
I get to shake your hand and know
Right.
who you are and all that stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, I actually first time I met Daniel Tobias was downstairs about a half hour ago.
There you
He's
go.
like, why don't I know your face? And I
Yeah.
was like, well, because I've never been to Namm before.
Exactly.
And
Yep.
here it is. I'm here. I've sold $100,000 worth of your bases
Exactly.
in my lifetime.
Yeah.
And let's be real, Daniel Tobias, that's a fucking man.
Dude,
right
he-
there.
Oh, yeah.
That is a hunk of man.
He's a man, dude.
Yeah,
That's
that's
Man
awesome.
Crush Monday right there, dude.
Yeah.
He's, dude.
Right. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
I was at the bash yesterday, and obviously now.
Right. Thank you very
just
much.
the room full of badass. Corey from No Trouble.
Oh, yeah.
We ran into Dr. Kurtz downstairs.
That's a
Obviously, all the
beautiful thing,
players, all the builders. Michael Tobias is downstairs. Victor Wooten was here yesterday.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
just like a room full of
Yeah.
everybody.
We had Jackson Brown, not a bass player, but he was here.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's
Amazing.
just, I know.
I texted Sinbad.
Did you?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Sinbad,
he just
where
got
are you?
done. He just got done.
Thank you kindly. I
Thank you.
appreciate that.
That's Mike, by the way. We just missed him, but
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
Mike Schulhauser, the
Supplying
vice
my
president
alcohol.
of Sandberg. But
Yes.
but yeah, I texted him and he was just like, "Oh, I just finished up at the Marriott," and I was like, "You need to get over here."
Yeah.
And then I thought about it. I was like, "We're not on that level yet." So
Right.
I backpedaled and I was like, "Kidding."
Yeah, but yeah.
You're a star.
You're
Serious,
Sinbad.
not serious.
Yeah, exactly.
By the way, Namm, this is my all-time favorite move that happens like 1,000 times a day. It's this one right here. Hey, John.
Yeah. Oh, I love it.
When they look at their fucking name
Right,
tag.
no,
I love
every
it.
time I walk up to
And you
somebody,
have
it's
the- and-
eyes down
yeah.
here,
Yeah.
looking
Yep.
at my
Look,
chest.
my dick is not impressive. I'm up here.
And your last name isn't that, phonetic. Mine is, I don't even know how to pronounce my own last name. So it's like everyone's like, oh,
Yeah,
Jon
anyone with an
D'Auria.
apostrophe in
D'Auria,
their
there you go.
name.
See,
D'Auria.
they say it better, and most people say it better than I do. But yeah, but even with your name, everyone's like, yeah, but you know the faces, and if you know the first name, you're pretty set.
Right. Yeah.
Or you can just be
"Hey,
like,
Jody,
Sandberg
hey,
guy."
Mark,"
Oh,
whatever.
most of the time,
Bass dad.
I don't know shit about. I'm like, oh wait, you play that Ken Smith.
Exactly.
I know who you are.
Everyone knows the
Right.
gear.
Yeah.
Everyone knows what you did or the gear or something like.
Just
yeah.
don't bother with your fucking name. Just tell me what you play.
Exactly, dude. But that's all right. You get by enough with that. So has Namm been as you expected it, other than the initial shot?
Yeah. I mean, it's just been like.
Wait a minute.
honest-
Are you interviewing him?
This is my interview show.
Yeah.
This is
No,
the
I'm
Bass
happy.
Magazine
Bring it over,
interview
bring it.
2020.
I mean, it's so big. I think I was there for the first 5 hours and didn't realize there were like other buildings and floors.
There's a whole other convention
right.
hall of all the DJ and all the
Yeah.
audio equipment.
The
And
Downstairs.
The
Downstairs.
is the best.
It's
just
the
bargain
best.
basement shit. It's
Oh my
weird shit,
God, it's
and,
the
like,
boutique
you can-
shit.
Like I mean, like there are some like, dude, tomorrow you're gonna see like all the pores are gonna go downstairs and
Yep,
like.
it's true.
But it's the best though because every
It's
fucking
wild.
year, every year there's always like 3 or 4 awesome fucking new releases,
Cool
like
things
new
that
people.
happen
And
down
then the
there,
next
right?
year they have a booth the size of Aguilar.
It's true.
Like a huge booth.
But for the
Right.
time they're down there, it's like the Wild West. It's like lawless.
That's
It's like,
the best
dude,
place
like
to go.
yeah. You get all these amazing
It is
like,
lawless.
dude, like hand carved basses and just like the weirdest shit you'll find.
I imagine it's a lot like New York in the 80s.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
See, anything goes. Like, yeah.
Like, you're
Yeah, it was
probably gonna
definitely
get mugged
like,
down there.
Oh, what's going on?
Someone's
down
taking your wallet. You
here?
might do some blow, but you find some cool shit. That's
Yeah.
New York and the 80s.
I mean,
so,
it's
yeah.
it's definitely been really cool seeing obviously like great performances and people like ripping at the booths.
Right.
Not to bring Tobias up again, but there's always like 40 people around that
Of
booth, so
course.
it's hard to like.
This is the
get
Michael
any-
Tobias hour.
By the way, this
bass nerds. By Michael yes.
Tobias.
Exactly.
His booth is crazy. A couple other ones. It's just like kind of hard to
Oh,
get
yeah.
in there and chat with. I stopped by the Bergantino booth today, and it was
Oh,
a
yeah.
madhouse, and it's like, hey Jim, see you later. It was
Yep.
that kind of thing because he's just so busy, and
And you will
everybody's
not
wanting
find
to talk
nicer
to him.
people than Jim
Oh,
and Holly. I
dude.
mean,
Right.
they're like,
every day Holly's come over and give me the best hug.
Of
ever.
course.
She saved my life at the Lords of the Low End in New York.
oh yeah.
Yeah.
I was standing, I had a booth with Sandberg there,
Yeah.
and I was standing there, and she was like, "You look hungry," and I was like, "Oh my God, I am." She's
I'm
like,
about to
"I'll
pass
be right
Mark
back.
always looks
I made some
hungry.
peanut butter and jelly sandwiches." And she comes down in the fucking foil.
Of
and
course.
I swear to God, it was the best,
best.
PB
the
and J.
perfect
PB&J,
proportion
yep.
of peanut
Yep.
butter
It
and
was
jelly ratio.
Perfect.
Exactly.
Perfect. The perfect amount of crust. The perfect type
Yep.
of bread, dude. Jim, like I
They're-
can't say enough nice
Oh, of
things
course.
about
They're
them.
they're like the most comfort in Namm because it's all chaos and all this stuff, and then you go there and it's like mom and pop, and it's just
Yeah.
like here's a blanket and let's like.
I mean, and aside from all that, like I've been a Bergantino fan for so
Of course.
many. I just love those. I left the kind of the bass club when they started making the heads, so I don't really have a whole lot of hands. I mean, I did get to play with that Forte HP that
right.
you
Oh
brought
yeah.
over.
Yeah.
Which is
That
a
thing's wild with the
beast.
foot switch and all that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, I've been a Bergantino cabinet. I have a CN 112 that I've been
Nice,
using
yeah.
for years that I think is
the best, most clarity, definition, well built. I remember like feeling like such a badass that like I'd carry my cabinet, my bass, and I had a Aguilar Tone Hammer 500, and I'm like walking in the gig ready to go. No refrigerators, no like this is it.
And that'll power you, dude.
Right. I mean, because nowadays everybody's you're DIing anyway.
Right.
So you just need a little bit of stage volume to hear yourself, and then they're going to go out of your head and put you through the mains anyway. So
of course.
Like when he came out with that CN 112, it just blew my mind.
Man.
And definitely my favorite cabinet
I have a
I've ever
Forte
owned.
that just blows my mind every time I plug in.
Love that stuff.
You've been playing. You're a player.
I'm
as
a player.
Well. So tell us a little bit about your history.
You just crush a lot.
Yeah, I just crush a lot.
Yeah. wait. Is it Big Pun or Fat Joe?
That's Big Pun.
Okay, good. I couldn't remember.
Yeah, it's all right. It's a few years removed from that hit single, but yeah.
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 A big guy who rapped.
Exactly. He's a big. They could be interchangeable, Fat Joe and Big Pun, but I think they ran the same camp. But yeah, Big Pun on that one.
Got it.
Yeah, but no, I started playing when I was 18 and just kind of fell into it. Instantly bass. I got big wonky fingers and like not doing petite guitar chords.
Yeah.
My buddy was like, hey, let's start a band. I play guitar. You should play bass. And I fell in love with it. Actually, I went and I bought a bass. I bought a Dean Edge 4 bass, like $300, and I got an issue of Bass Player magazine.
You like
and
to fuck.
I like to. This guy fucks. And yeah. And so, yeah, Dean. Shout out to Dean.
Yeah.
And ever since, I was like, I'm a bass player. I wore the bass home in my car. I drove like a Ford Bronco, and I wore it. I was so proud. I wore it while I was driving. And ever since, I was like, I'm a bass player. And I had a bass player mag that I bought with the bass.
Yeah.
And that was my new identity. I was an athlete my whole life up until then. And then I was like, now I'm a bass player.
The opposite of an athlete.
The opposite of an athlete. Yeah. We're not svelte bass players. We're not. Yeah. We're not going to be getting any Olympic medals, but we can do widdlies. So yeah. But yeah, and fell into it and loved it.
Yeah.
Fell into bass journalism.
Yeah. So like you with your first bass, you got Bass Player magazine.
Yeah.
So did something just click? Like, were you about to go to school for journalism, or
I never took a journalism class at all. I started taking lessons with a guy named Ed Friedland, who's amazing. And The Whisperer.
Yeah,
man.
he's got a bunch of books, right?
Everyone, his first book was Ed Friedland's book. He taught at Berkeley. His students are like John Mayung and Tom Hamilton of Aerosmith.
Oh,
Nice.
who are they?
Yeah, just some local cats.
Yeah.
And
John Mayung, never heard of her.
And Ed and I live in Arizona. We're desert folk, and so I started taking lessons with him. And one day, it was funny because I was in college, and I used to pay him for the lessons with weed, and which is awesome. We used to call it green strings back then because I think he thought his phone was tapped. Yeah, you got those green strings? And I'm like, I'll be at the lesson. And one day we were enjoying some green strings after a lesson, and he was like, what do you want to do, like, seriously? Like, like I think he kind of knew I wasn't going to be the next John Mayung or Tom Hamilton. So. And I was like, well, I want to do what you're doing. I love journalism. He was, editor for Bass Player Forever, and he's columnist and amazing. And he was like, why don't you write up something, I'll edit it, give you pointers. I was like, all right. So I got a hold of a band that I love called Circus Survive.
Oh, shit, yeah.
Yeah.
That's what's up.
And I got a hold of the bass player and Nick Beard, and I was like, hey, and I was really transparent. I was like, I'm trying to get this gig. Can I interview? He's like, of course. So I did the interview, sent it to Ed. And at the time, he was working with Guitar World's Bass Guitar magazine out of New York with Eldon Bradman as editor-in-chief. And he read it over, and he's like, Johnny, he's like, this is pretty good. He's like, this is good. He's like, I'm going to give this to the dude, Elton. And I was like, oh, shit, okay. And next thing I know, a week later, I get a call from Elton. He's like, yo, I need young blood. You want to be one of my writers? And I was like, yes. And so I started writing for them, and then Elton eventually, like 6 months later, asked me to become his web editor, and I did. And then he said, why don't you come be our managing editor in New York? And I was contemplating it, and it was a big shift from the desert to the big city. And then we got folded. The magazine went under, and I was like, shit. So I had to pivot. So I started working for the British bass guitar magazine.
Was it that's Future Media who bought them out?
Yeah, Future bought them out.
It was New Bay.
Yeah, it was New Bay, yeah. And then, so I went and wrote for Bass Guitar Magazine for a while, and then Elton hit me up again and said, yo, I'm back with Bass Player, why don't you come with me? And so I hopped on with them, became their web editor, after a short amount of time, and then we had that team and did that for like 7 years. So I was on with Bass Player, and that's kind of how I cut my teeth with all that journalism stuff. So.
And so when there was a recent transition
Absolutely, yeah.
that went from bass player to bass magazine.
Right.
And from what I've read and a lot of people understand is a lot of the old guard that was from bass player that just basically wanted to start their own thing.
Right. And that's what happened is that New Bay, which was housing us, got bought out by Future, which is a British company.
When did that take place?
That was a year and a half ago now. And so there were going to be some big shift ups, and they already had a staff and all that. They had Joel McIver.
He's awesome.
I love Joel.
Yeah.
He's one of the best people out there.
He's a great writer, and thank you for introducing me to him.
Oh, of course, yeah.
That Al
Absolutely,
Cisneros write-up he
dude.
did.
With the Rickenbacker.
He's coming by tomorrow.
Nice.
Yeah, we sent him a press release, and he like wrote me back, and I was like, oh shit.
How many basses have you sparked the creation of? There's the 48. There's that Rickenbacker. I feel like you're behind a lot of signature basses, man.
I like to tinker with shit.
Yeah, see?
I think that's the exciting part about a job like this, and also while at CME, that store carried so much weight,
right?
That it was awesome to be able to go to builders and suggest things, and they would listen to it because of all of the sort of like
and
provenance
they know,
and
they know you and the
that,
body of knowledge. I mean, dude, you're CME.
Oh, I was riding on CME's
with the
coattails.
basement. I mean, yeah, but come on, but you were the dude that like, and of course you with bass. I mean, man, you guys are like the aficionados. If I need something, I would go to you guys and be like, tell me
We are
what's best
nerds.
for this.
We are nerds.
Bass nerds.
Well, I think
bassnerds.com.
it's like obviously like you said, CME having that kind of weight, but also like let's take it a step further. They know if they build that thing, like you've had input in it, you're also gonna push the shit out of it.
Yeah. You
right?
can't let it
Anyone
fail.
that comes through that door, you're gonna be like, well, check this out, and let me tell you the inner workings of it because I was part of that.
That's kind of how it is. But I mean, I think I say this like in different aspects of what I do now at Sandberg is that the product development side is my favorite part of the job.
Yes.
But next week it'll be like, oh, you know what customer service is?
Right.
That's probably not true.
That's
but
a
it is
beautiful
true.
thing that it shifts around, like that.
It is cool, but that's been really fun. It's just just seeing all of the things that all these builders that are doing really cool things. It's like, okay, how can I take like that sort of like genius,
right,
and mold it into something that I like looking at,
right,
and like in the functionality. Unfortunately, like the company I work for already does a lot of things that I like already. And it's a very collaborative effort.
Yep.
That Holger listens to what people say.
That's so important, man.
Yeah.
Because so many people are hard-nosed, and hard-headed, and they're just going to be like, we're doing my way, and that's the only way. But if you have to listen to the player, and you have to listen to what people want, and that's why, you having a collaboration with that kind of stuff is invaluable, because you guys were on the floor talking to the dudes playing the gigs on a Tuesday at a pub. You know what I mean? It's not the guy. It's not Jimmy Haslip, and all that all the time. You guys had that a lot.
Those dudes are set.
Yeah. So it's like, they know what they want, and then you can apply that, and then it's a beautiful thing. That's
right.
why you guys are the bass nerds.
That's why we're the nerds.
You guys know that stuff.
So.
Oh yeah, sorry. So
that's cool.
With the buyout, yeah.
With the buyout, so you're seeing the writing on the wall.
Yeah, and so they took it over, and we had our full staff, 30-year. We had guys, Jim Roberts, we had Carl Coriat, one of the original editors, Chris Giese there since '87. They were the original bass journalists on planet Earth,
And you all decided, you know what, fuck it, we're going to build our own.
Well, they were kind of going in their direction, and they kind of, and there were budget issues where, like, we can't pay you guys your stipends anymore. You can contribute,
you can keep working, but we're going to pay you less.
Exactly. And
like a Milton scenario.
Right, exactly. And we were just going into our 30th anniversary year, which is actually this year technically, which they're going to celebrate, which I'm happy. And so and I was still on as the web editor at the time, and I looked over and we had the 30-year staff of Bass Player Legacy, and we always had a backup plan. We knew it was coming. And so we would get on calls and we would say, what happens if shit hits the fan? What are we going to do? Are we going to do a podcast? Are we going to do this? And we were like, no, we're going to do another magazine. So when all this went
should
down,
do a podcast.
Yeah, we should. Well, this is our podcast. You guys are our podcast.
Well, you all are obviously always welcome, but I think...
And feed people, send them to us. We'd be happy
we would
to
love that.
chat with them.
Anyone you guys want.
I think with that 30 years of experience and like the many years of decades of combined experience, I would be entertained by something like that.
Absolutely, yes, absolutely. And so we just kind of looked around and said, we have the staff, let's go do this on our own. And I love... Dude, I read every month still. I read Bass Player Magazine. I'm a subscriber. I still am grandfathered into that. I love Joel McIver. one of the best dudes you could meet. I mean, he's so accomplished. He writes like a book a month. The sweetest guy. But we just went and did our own thing. So we started Bass Magazine. I had just recently fallen in with Colin Greenwood of Radiohead, and we are like, that's a great way to kick off the first issue.
That is.
He's like
What
my
an
hero.
underrated bass player.
I know.
Like hearing this song Airbag
Oh my gosh.
off of OK Computer.
Dude, any of that stuff they recorded in the basement, that video series.
oh my God.
I see
That's
that
the most raw stuff too. It's
that
just
turned me
them.
around on In Rainbows.
Yes.
I listened to In Rainbows and I was just like, oh man, I can't get into this. And then I saw that and then I
Yes.
was like seeing them do all of the shit and like all the tricks.
Right.
Oh my God.
Seeing them all do it live.
And that was and I talked
was
to
like,
Colin about that was a difficult album for them. Like there's songs
that's
where,
my favorite one now.
Of course. And there's songs like Good Morning Mr. Magpie where
Yeah.
like I was talking to Colin about it and like Tom is like having to bust his ass for that guitar riff and to sing. It's like dan, dan, ticka, dan, dan, ticka,
Yeah.
dan, dan, in the basement, you know. And
Right.
you can see him and you can tell he's nervous about it and he's trying to stroke it that fast. And it's the craziest thing. We had a bass player live event, you know, we always would do those. And we had John Taylor from Duran Duran come and
Fucking awesome bass player.
monster. And I had Ben Kenny go host it with me. And John Taylor said something that changed like everyone in the room. He said they were talking about making Rio and all those songs. And he said, we were kids pushing ourselves to the limit of our ability. And we were always on that line dancing with what our ability was with where we wanted to be. And everyone was just like, oh shit, that's great. But in that basement thing, you can see like Tom York pushing himself to the line of his physical capabilities,
Right.
killing it, and Johnny and Colin and all of them, and it's beautiful. Yeah, so the basement session is fantastic.
Incredible series, definitely.
And so so we got Colin, and our first issue went off with a bang, and now we're just trying, we're doing it on our own. We're 10 months in and just growing it. We have a lot of amazing stuff coming up. Our next issue's coming out soon. We have Stanley Clark and Flea and all types of amazing players
Nice.
in it. And, there were a lot of things that we wanted to rewrite from bass player. We want to make it gender neutral. We want as many females
Yeah.
as males in it. We want Brazilian bass players. We want people all over. Because you get, there's a lot of magazines that are just like white rockers who have been doing it forever. And you're like, yeah, I've read that article,
Yep.
Right.
We want to kind of
A
like
few times.
hit everything else and be like, yeah, but you got to know about this dude, so.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely have to be all-encompassing. Just a vacuum for bass. I was talking to Corey from No Trouble last night,
Love No Trouble.
and he
Yeah.
was like, I'm a jazz guy, and I kept getting a lot of readers, going like, man, you need to get into the metal world.
Right.
And he's like, dude, I don't know anything about that. It's not my
Right.
thing. But I got Kevin, who knows all of this, and that is
They're a
thing
beautiful
of
team
his.
together, man. I love No Trouble. Yeah.
Right. So, like, it's definitely, you got to cover all. And obviously, Brazil has a huge bass
Brazil's
community.
We're going to do a big Brazil feature. We're going to send out one of our editors, Elton Bradman, and
Yeah.
there's just guys, of course, there's Michael Pipp, who came
Right.
up, he was like the kid in all the videos.
I remember watching all those videos,
Of course,
dude.
he was like viral instantly, and then and now he's like grown up and he's even badder than he was then. But Brazil
Ridiculous.
is just a wealth of
Right.
Oh, yeah.
players, and we want to tap into that. We want to do that, and even with the female bass thing, like so many of my heroes are female bass players,
Yeah.
and I feel like bass is the equal opportunity employer to where females and males, it's rare. Like, dude, as many dudes that are up there shredding, there's women that will just run circles around them.
Right.
And they get the gigs, and and I love it. And it shouldn't even be a topic of conversation anymore. Like the term female bass player is a horrible thing. It's just bass player.
Bass
no one's gonna
player,
say
right.
Geddy Lee, male bass player.
Right.
You know?
Right.
That's
So we're
100%
trying to
true.
do all that and just really just broaden all that and just kind of carry the torch we've been doing for 30 years, and that's what we're doing with Bass Magazine, bassmagazine.com.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, you're taking over the Bass Bash here, which we're
Yeah,
at.
absolutely.
And I'm sure you'll be featuring female bass players next year
Absolutely, yeah.
and the years ahead, which will just turn into bass players.
Yes,
And so-
there you go. See,
Right.
It's,
They already
it's hard
are.
not to say that.
Right.
It's hard not to say that though,
right?
because
No, right.
we had Tal, we had Mai here, and everyone's
Yeah.
like, dude, you have these badass female bass players, and yeah.
That's a word that often gets thrown at women.
Yes.
Is badass.
Badass, yes.
And it's almost condescending.
I know, yeah.
Like yeah. I didn't realize that until I actually sat down and talked to a woman who's just they're like rolled their eyes and she made this side comment about like, oh yeah, badass, and I was like, what is that? And she was like, it's just kind of condescending.
Right.
And you don't think of it when you're saying it, but it is. And
Right.
like I can't say no, it's not.
Right.
Because I'm not the one who's dealing with that.
Of course. It was funny because I do all the social media for Bass Magazine, and for 7 years I did it for Bass Player. And it was funny because a guy pointed out in comments, he said, anytime that you do a birthday for a female, you say the talented blank. And I was like, fuck. Like, you know, but I say it about so many male players too and stuff. But I was like, all right, I got to switch up my flow, you know. You just have to desensitize all that and make it, you know.
That's true.
It's the bass world is a, man, it's a small, I always say, like, the music world everyone thinks is a huge place. And, like, but really the music world is like a house, and the bass world is a small closet in that house. Everyone knows each other. Everyone's influenced by each other.
But see, what I think is important is it's always been the same. It's almost been like this boys' club.
Of course.
You know,
Sure.
when coming to the events over the years, you see the same faces.
Yep.
You see, like, sometimes that's good because you haven't seen them in a long time. But when you go to multiple events all over the country,
Yeah.
and they're all there,
Yep.
kind of shaking hands and kind of like looking around the room to see who else is there to talk to, it's I think there might be a good opportunity to kind of expand the reach.
Of course. Yeah. Because it's a lot of the same every year. Like I do the social media every year for Namm, and every year you get the Lee Sklar at Warwick. You know, you get this, like, it's like, I'm like, oh, I got to, like, switch this up, you know.
I mean, that's no knock against. That's a fucking amazing
Lee
instrument.
Sklar, dude. Come
It's
on.
Lee
I mean,
Sklar.
dude, come on.
He's
Get
earned
out.
it. Yeah,
Dude,
that's for
Lee
sure.
Sklar. He's got some good stuff coming up, too. But
Yeah. Speaking of inspiring women, Ellis Hahn.
Yes.
Oh my God,
Dude.
her bass is so sick. It's so
like
good.
the talk of Namm right now, and so many builders have been like, dude, she has the perfect ratios, like even talking about headstocks and everything. It's funny, she came up to me, this is so random, but she came up and said, I have a present for you, and I was like, oh, like, nice, like, what is it? It's got to be some piece of gear or something, this and this, and she gave me astronaut ice cream, and she said, this is one of my favorite things, and I want you to have this.
That's
and I
so-
said, do I add water to it? She said, no. She said,
no.
don't ruin it.
And-
Have you guys had this?
It is fucking gross. I'm gonna just say it. I
Sorry,
hate that.
Ellis. Yeah,
no,
sorry.
No.
Right.
I don't think any less of her. That's just I don't know. I can't do it.
She said she loves it, and she said, she's like, later tonight when you're done with everything, just eat it and let me know it's Neapolitan. You get the 3 flavors. You're going to love it. I've never had it, and so I'm excited.
Well, you'll find
to,
out if she loves you or hates you. Right?
Exactly.
Yeah,
This
exactly.
is great.
I mean,
she's like, fuck
if it's
that, dude. I'm going to fuck his
if
night
that
up.
see if I gave you that gift, that's like mafia shit, you know? Like
Exactly. Like, you're getting the astronaut ice cream.
yeah.
But, man, her bases. And she, man,
sick.
what she does for Sadowski and what she, you know.
I was just talking to her. I just met her
Oh,
an
yeah.
hour ago
You gotta have her
downstairs.
on here, man.
Yeah,
You have to have her
she's,
on
I
here.
was,
She's
she's been with
amazing.
Sadowski for 15 years.
She's
And
young
running that
too, man.
place,
She's
and we
got
were,
such a bright
you know,
future.
talking about the recent Sadowski change to Framus.
Yep.
You know, production stuff like
Yep, with
that.
the distribution and all that.
What's like
So that's
you keep going. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
Well, I mean, she kind of she didn't divulge any great detail other than like she definitely needs. She feels like there needs to be some clarity put out there into the world of what actually everything means, because
Right.
you know when we got that press release, it was like, oh, Framus and Warwick are taking this stuff over and they're going to do these lines, but nobody knows where stuff's being made. Is it
Right.
being made in Czech, or is this line going to be made in Indonesia, or
Yep.
whatever's going on? So I recommended that she just shoot a 5-minute video with Roger,
Oh, that's smart.
you know,
That's
on
smart.
an iPhone, and go like, I'm here to set the record straight.
Right,
This
yeah,
is
yeah.
what we're going. And
Because
she's
it'd
like,
be confusing, yeah.
I think that's a great idea.
Yeah.
I'm going to steal that. And I
Of
was
course.
like, do that.
Right.
And she's like, I'm going to put him right in front of his workbench
Yep.
and make him explain everything
Absolutely.
because, you know, they need to control a little bit of the narrative and control, like, what's, you know, and people want to hear it from Roger.
Of course.
They don't want to hear it from
Yeah.
her or
No,
anyone
or a
else.
press release or
you know?
something. And I had a 90-minute talk with Roger on Wednesday about it, and
Oh, yeah.
So you've got a bit of insight.
yeah,
on
yeah,
this.
absolutely. And it's a beautiful thing.
Well,
and
just so people who are listening or watching,
Right.
all 6 of you.
yes, it's growing.
It
It's
is growing.
We
Actually.
got subscribers.
Yeah.
We got
We're doing
subscribers. This is
well.
gonna be big. I'm telling you, man.
Just so everyone's clear, we're talking about the recent acquisition of
The
Sadowski.
distribution of Sadowski through Warwick, and
Exactly.
so pretty much what it is the best way I can tell it is through Roger's words, and it's a beautiful thing because Roger is, I mean, he's an amazing builder and he always does everything to the highest quality, You've been to the Warwick factory. We spent time. We had some
Yeah.
whiskey on the balcony.
That was great.
Yeah.
Good
And
time.
we watched
I was like
fireworks.
sharing a joint with his kids while we're watching the fireworks.
See?
I yelled USA.
It was like $10,000 worth of fireworks, man.
It was
They do not. They do not skimp on that stuff.
That's a party.
So they do everything at the highest level Warwick does.
Yeah.
And pretty much Roger said, look, I'm 70 years old. I've been doing this for 40 years. 70.
Wouldn't
He
have
looks
guessed.
so much younger. He looks younger than I do.
He
man.
looks better. Yeah,
that's
exactly.
what
He
I'm
looks better than I
saying.
do. Well,
Yeah.
you're an Adonis, so
Right.
stop. That fucking chiseled jaw.
Oh, no.
Blue eyes.
No.
Yeah,
no. You
no,
flatter.
You
Come
walk
on.
in like that room is in trouble.
Oh, come on. I watch your videos shirtless on repeat, man, so you can't have that.
Well,
See,
it's
I like your
just,
dancing
that
kitchen
doesn't mean
videos.
I should do it.
It
you know
means
what I
you
mean?
should. And I saw that commercial that came on. I don't know what company. There was a commercial with a dude dancing, and I was like, he's stealing Mark's moves.
No,
and I
so
said that to my
here's the
wife.
thing.
I said,
I
dude,
got
I got my
10
dude.
You're talking about the Pandora
Yes.
commercial, right? So it's a
That's
commercial.
like copyright shit,
a
dude.
dude. It's a dude on his front lawn.
Yep.
He puts his earbuds in. He puts on Pandora, and then he starts
think
twerking
I
on his
saw
front
this,
lawn and
yeah.
shit.
Stealing Mark's moves.
But he's a big barrel-chested dude with a big mustache. And so 10 people the day that went out, 10 different people
I was
sent
gonna
me
hit
that
you
link.
up. Yep.
Well, so I was like, I got to meet this guy. I got to find out who this is. And so I
dug deeper.
I put it on Facebook. I was like, hey, dear internet, does anybody know this guy? Like, I feel like I need to be his friend. And sure enough, I have a friend
No.
who's like, oh, yeah, that's Joshua
Carl.
Charles Parker,
Yeah.
and tags him.
Wow.
And then the dude liked it. I friended him
No.
immediately.
Oh my
And then I sent him a
gosh.
message. He accepted the friendship. And I was
No.
like, hey, I'm in LA all the time. I know you live there. We're grabbing beers.
We're
And he
collaborating.
goes, fuck yeah, we are.
Oh my.
And we're
So we're already
doing it
buds.
shirtless.
Which reminds me, I need to hit him up since I'm
Hit
out
him
here.
up. I was literally on my couch with my wife watching TV, and then all of a sudden it's just ads, and then all of a sudden I'm like, that guy, like that's royalties to you.
Yeah.
That's your dances. That's his
And
shirt off.
Andrew
like, mustache.
Yankee from he's the CEO of CME. He was the first person to hit
Right.
me up, and he was like, "Were you the fucking consultant on this commercial?"
Yeah, like that's your vision. You're like, now shirt off,
Yeah.
furrow the mustache.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, exactly. Dude.
It's like the old Dove commercials.
Yeah.
Love the skin you're in,
Yep.
man.
Exactly. See, and you've been doing that. That's why they owe you. You should get money from every time they run that, man.
I
No,
don't
I
have-
just want
OG
people
of
to be
it.
comfortable in their bodies.
Of course, man. Of course.
I think that's payment enough.
Big time. And I love your videos.
Thank you.
Watch them on repeat. Not
I'm
ashamed to say that.
disgusted by myself personally. I don't have the
No.
confidence to do
Nah.
something like
Next one.
You
will
gotta
be
abandon
shirtless.
that shit, bruh.
Yeah, it's true, dude. It's true.
Can't
So
do it.
sorry. So that was yeah.
Sadowski.
Way getting off.
Sadowski.
So anyway, so
Roger's
Roger's
70.
years old. He's
Yeah.
been doing it for 40 years, and everything he does is so labor intensive, and he works 7 days a week for 40 years. And he said, you know, I'm 70 and I don't want to be doing this forever. So it's just the distribution of his bases. And Hans has an amazing team. They do everything to the highest level. Marcus out there in Germany,
Right.
you know, who you met, the builder.
Yeah.
You know, they just bonded. They went out and Roger saw their stores of wood that they've been like, you know, storing
Big
like.
Shack.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
He uprooted that.
yes.
You know the story?
Yeah.
No.
He took he basically he was I guess it was when Warwick was kind of like getting close to bankruptcy.
Right. Yeah.
They
Yeah.
needed a place to store wood.
Yeah.
And they were going to build this facility, and I guess he was driving. And he saw this barn being raised
Yeah.
in Austria.
Yep.
And he went over to them, and he was like, you know, like, is this barn for sale? And the guy was like, if you can get it out of here, it's yours. And so
They
they
did
hired
it.
a crew to raise it, and
Yep.
took it over to Mark Neukirchen.
All right.
Yeah. See, you say it better than I do. I'm
I
always
work
like,
with Germans.
Yeah, of course you do. Yeah. See.
NEUs, Neu.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
See.
And
don't
HP
know how to
actually
say
taught
that.
me how to say it, too.
Oh, there you go. See, I always said it wrong. I said it so horribly, so I never try to say it. So I'm not going to repeat it.
I mean, I'm sure that there's German people listening who heard
Like,
me say it, and they're like, that's
Yeah.
not right.
yeah, you're getting their leader hosing in
In
a
fact, I
bunch.
can ask that guy over there. He's
There
German.
you go. See, I'm drinking German beer. We're above a German pub, so
We're
yeah,
doing our best, right?
we're doing our best.
So
We're
he
limited.
doesn't want to be doing this
yeah,
forever.
So it was great. So Hans
Good
kind of
rapport.
he went out to Germany, and you fall in love with the Warwick factory because it's like Willy Wonka for bass. Like they have like
Nuts.
Babinga and Avankol like stairs going up, and
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
everything is just it's insane. You have to go out sometime. It's insane. The level of attention to detail and all that. So it's really a match made in heaven with Hans and Roger. And so there is a lot of misconception of like Warwick bought Sadowski, but that's not the case. Roger's still making stuff
It's
in
just
New
distributing.
York.
It's like when he was doing with Spectre.
Absolutely. Yep. It's
Right.
just distributing it. Obviously Roger has the Metro line, which is made overseas, and Still fantastic stuff.
Yeah.
At a great, price point. But Roger's still doing Sadowski full on, and it's amazing. Warwick's still doing Warwick, and it's still amazing. And it's a beautiful marriage. And the good thing about the bass world is, we all love each other. And I think everyone's embracing it really well. But you are right about the misconception about it. They should kind of talk that through and be like, hey, like Sadowski is not Warwick now. Like they're two separate entities. It's just we're going through the same avenue of distribution. So.
Well, I have a suspicion that there's going to be a video put out in the next 2 weeks.
Then you get the royalties.
That I might have helped
he gets
facilitate.
The Pandora royalties. You get the royalties from that one.
Wouldn't
We're going to
it be
divvy up right now.
hilarious if Roger did a video with his shirt off,
dancing in his front lawn?
Dude,
He grows a fine mustache.
70's the new 20, man.
It is, dude.
And that he looks good.
He's a good-looking fella, man. Yeah,
I wouldn't have guessed. I wouldn't have guessed for sure.
It's true. Yeah. So that's what's going on with that, and it's ultimately a good thing. Anytime anything in the bass world can kind of merge and combine, it's never bad because
Yeah, things definitely come and go, and we've all seen bass companies or bass amp get bought by bigger companies and then get shut down. And
of course,
we don't like to see that so much, but I'm sure if Roger did it, like you said, he's got extreme attention to detail. He likes to control things, and he wouldn't have done it if it was going to compromise his product in any way.
Not at all. And Sadowski basses are so superb, and
Well, I guess it's a good as time as any to wrap this up. John, thank you so much for joining us.
Of course. It's my honor. Like I said, I'm big fans of both you and everything you guys do, and it's a pleasure to be sitting here talking bass and bass industry with you guys. So
yeah, we're looking forward to working again.
Oh, you can have sweaty palms. Dude, I enjoy that. it makes my immune system stronger. Absorb it. The Namm. Yeah.
And
Namm-thrax.
just a quick plug, bassmagazine.com.
Bassmagazine.com.
Cool.
You can find us on all the socials. Just go to bassmagazine.com.
Cool.
And
awesome.
we're there for you.
And we'll of course link to that as well.
Perfect.
Thanks again, man.
Awesome, of course. Thank you.